What's the first Tomb Raider game you've played? For many, especially longtime fans, it's probably the very first one on the original PlayStation. For some of them, Lara Croft might even have been starring in their first wet dream. I grew up as a Nintendo kid, but apparently there's something very alluring to big PS1 boobs, and classic Tomb Raider fans are disturbingly open about that fetish. Weirdos. How can you like Lara over Tifa? What is good, everyone, and welcome back to the Backlog project, where we play through a gigantic list of games to find out which of them is worth putting onto your backlog. Got a game you'd like to see on the show? Check the description of the video to take part in our weekly poll, where you get to decide the next game I'll review. If there's one thing I didn't expect, it was Tomb Raider winning in a poll that featured Mega Man and Donkey Kong Country. I've never played a Tomb Raider game before, so I didn't think it was as popular as it seems to be. Why? Is the gameplay just that good, or did my channel get invaded by a bunch of simps? Not that I mind, it's Tomb Raider, so I can excuse any simping as simply being human. With that said, let's take a very close look at Lara, I mean Tomb Raider, to find out if it's worth putting onto your backlog. God, that was awful. The opening cinematic has a weird B-movie charm to it. Lara sits in a hotel, receiving a call from a woman called Natla, who contracts her to find an artifact in an ancient tomb in Peru. Well, this game wouldn't be called Tomb Raider if Lara wouldn't jump on any opportunity to raid some tombs, so she happily accepts the job, and off to Peru it is. Lara and her guide walk up to the locked temple gate. She climbs up to some signs, knows exactly that there's a switch hidden in the ornament, and presses it to open the doors. Let's just pretend they did some hefty research before coming here, and that's why she knew how to open the place up. Wolves come storming out, making a nice meal out of the guide, who was patiently waiting, unarmed, for Lara to get her ass back down, and when she finally does, she draws her pistols to get rid of the woofies. With the wolves and their lunch dead, Lara determinedly makes her way into the temple alone, finally taking off her sunglasses and giving us a good look on that gorgeous PS1 face. Eidos really tried their absolute hardest to make Lara appealing to the audience by not only being overly attractive, but also badass and cool. Doesn't really come across as impressive nowadays, but I guess I can see what they were going for over 25 years ago. The story is there. The game is separated into 4 acts that take place in different parts of the world. You'll explore caves in Peru, an ancient tomb in Egypt, and even go as far as diving in Atlantis. And every time you finish one act, you get a cinematic explaining why you're going there. The story is more of a means to have you explore these places than a cohesive narrative. It's weird, doesn't make sense in the way it's presented, and by the time you get to your next piece of it, you've probably already forgotten what happened before because there's multiple hours of gameplay between each of these sections. It feels a bit like Indiana Jones on crack, but with a lot less nuance and a lot more shooting stuff. Not that Indiana Jones is very nuanced to begin with, but you get my drift. For an early 3D game, the graphics actually hold up pretty well. It almost looks modern, because it looks like Minecraft. Everything is very blocky with sharp edges on corners, and all the levels are made up of the same few shapes with different textures on them. Some might say this looks very rough, but I think it makes the game look distinct and charming. Because they took this rather simple approach to building the levels, that also means they had more resources to put into making them visually stand out to be memorable and impressive. Every act feels like you're exploring a completely different place, and you can always navigate where you are easily, even without a map, because there are so many landmarks and eye-catchers in the areas that getting lost is pretty hard. However, that also brings with it its own set of issues. The game feels very much like a theme park, throwing one spectacular sight, enemy, or puzzle after the other at you, which is good if you just want to have fun playing a game, but it completely breaks the serious world building the story seems to try to achieve, and also makes a lot of sections just feel very out of place and straight up nonsensical. Sure, it's cool that you sometimes get ambushed by a fellow raider in Act 2, but when he casually pops up from inside a locked tomb that you have just opened after pulling multiple switches in similarly locked rooms that were guarded by ancient protectors just now awoken from slumber by your disturbance of the place, you gotta wonder about how all of that stuff works. Well, maybe these old temples just have really bad security, I don't know. In contrast, the soundtrack goes hand in hand with the game's themes and gives you a sense of mystery and discovery that would make this into an epic adventure if the visuals and gameplay didn't try their utmost to destroy those feelings at every chance they get. Maybe I'm just missing nostalgia here, but I think the soundtrack is miles above everything else the game offers in terms of atmosphere, and Nathan McCree did an outstanding job creating a score that could easily still be used if the game came out today. If only there was more of it. There are only a handful of tracks in the game, and most of your time is spent running around the levels in complete silence without even any ambient sounds, much less actual music, making it feel very sterile. But at least the parts of the game that do feature music are very memorable for it. The voice acting is very 90s, making the story even harder to take seriously because most of the lines, even if cool or weighty on paper, come across as corny and just comical, but it's better to just get a taste of it for yourself.
Hello?
I'll heel and hide you to a barn door yet.
Of course.
You and that driveling piece of the ski-on. You want to keep it so bad, I'll harness it right up your...
Wait.
Even though the opening and game cover imply a heavy use of firearms, Tomb Raider is actually more of an exploration and puzzle-based game. Your goal in every level is to find the exit. Sounds simple, but finding and opening said exit often involves a lot of work. And this is where Tomb Raider really shines because that work is a lot of fun. Well, fun with a few caveats, but more on that later. Let's first talk about what the game does well. For one, the levels are intricately designed to be explored. Not only are they large and varied in their design, there's also something to find around every corner. No place in the game feels empty, and you're always looking forward to seeing what you can find next. And find you will, because these levels are long. It's not rare to spend over an hour on one of the 15 levels trying to figure out what to do or where to go to progress. There's also a lot of variances in how the puzzles are designed. Sometimes you just need to find a switch or do a few jumps over obstacles, but other times you need to find multiple items by interacting with the levels by lowering water levels or moving around pillars. There are even some really intricate puzzles that involve chaining together Lara's various moves like running jumps and backflips into one fluid motion to reach certain areas. Every level in the game also features multiple secrets to find. These are usually hidden alcoves that are hard to spot and get to that will reward you with ammunition, health packs, and even new weapons that you can use to fend off the various enemies in the game. These enemies range from the wolves you saw in the beginning to humans and even mummies or other tomb dwellers, and they all have one thing in common. They want to kill Lara. She ain't having none of that, so get those guns out and start shooting. And shooting. And shooting. Yeah, combat in this game isn't really deep or interesting. You just shoot stuff until it's dead, preferably trying to run around while doing that to not get hit. But even if you do get hit, you can just use one of the many health packs in the game to survive most encounters without any strategy. The game even aims for you as long as the enemy is in Lara's line of sight, so you can just hold down the attack buttons until enemies are dead. There are multiple weapons in the game, but they all do the same thing: shoot. Some shoot faster, some do more damage when close, but the gameplay is mostly the same all the time. It also doesn't really help that the enemy AI is so unbelievably stupid, I don't even feel comfortable calling it an AI. Enemies take ages to get to you because they stop at random spots. often don't attack even when you're directly in their face, and once you've figured out that they will just stand there and take your fire until they're dead, instead of running away if they have no way of reaching you like standing on higher ground, you've completely broken the game. Even the final and only boss of the game is just shoot until it catches up to you, run away, and start shooting again, and repeat that until it's dead. Another thing that makes the game feel very archaic are the much and deservingly hated tank controls. Lara cannot run from left to right, only forward or backwards. That means not only is fighting while running around an absolute pain, but so is any exploration that requires a semblance of platforming or precise movement. Want to make that jump? Well, first you gotta turn into the direction that you want to jump in, then take a few steps back to get enough run up to trigger a running jump that will cover enough distance to make it. Sometimes, because most of the platforming is very tight, so if you jump even a bit too early, you will likely fall to your death. Apparently, you can quick save in the PC version, but the PS1 version I played featured save points throughout each level, which means that every time I died to something stupid like missing a jump by a hair, I had to reload the save and do a good portion of the level again. With how frequent these slip-ups tend to happen, this can be quite frustrating. I can certainly see why Tomb Raider is as popular as it is, and I'm not talking about boobs. Even with the glaring issues, most of which are due to age rather than incompetence, playing through the game was still a fun time, and if I had played this back in the day, I probably would have many fond memories of the unique locations and puzzles in the game. That being said, if you want to play this game nowadays, be prepared for some antique game design choices and quite a few frustrating passages on your way through Lara's first adventure. Have you played the first Tomb Raider before, or are you just like me and always put it off saying you'll eventually do it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've watched the video this far, you've probably enjoyed it, so it would be awesome if you could give that like button a good smack so this video can spread to a few more people. Thank you. I'm also live on YouTube every Monday and Friday, so feel free to come by and we'll have some fun playing games. Thank you very much for watching, and remember to always keep that backlog rolling.